Take a moment, breathe slowly, and listen carefully. Most people believe success is stolen by bad luck, lack of talent, or unfair circumstances. But the truth is far quieter and far more dangerous. Success is not usually destroyed by one big mistake. It is stolen slowly, every day, by small habits people never question. These habits feel harmless, they feel normal, they feel comfortable, and that is exactly why they are deadly. You don't wake up one day and fail at life. You drift there silently. This audiobook is not here to motivate you for a moment. It is here to expose the habits that quietly drain your potential, weaken your discipline, and delay the life you could be living. Because once you can see these habits clearly, you can break them. And once you break them, everything changes. Let's start with the most common habit that kills success without making any noise: living on autopilot. Many people wake up, check their phone, rush through the day, react to everything, sleep, and repeat. Days pass, weeks pass, years pass, and one day they look back and wonder where their life went. Autopilot living feels safe because it requires no effort, no decisions, no discomfort. But success demands awareness. A man once worked the same job for 10 years. Every morning he complained about being stuck. Every evening he escaped into entertainment. When asked why he never changed his situation, he said, "Time just passed." Time didn't pass, he did. When you stop choosing consciously, life chooses for you, and life usually chooses comfort over growth. Another habit that quietly destroys success is waiting for motivation. Motivation feels powerful, but it is unreliable. It comes and goes like the weather. Successful people don't wait to feel ready. They act while feeling tired, bored, uncertain, or afraid. A student once said, "I'll start studying seriously when I feel motivated." Months passed, exams arrived, motivation never showed up. Discipline would have saved him, but discipline was never trained. Waiting for motivation is like waiting for the perfect wind before sailing. You drift instead of moving. Then there is the habit of overconsumption, consuming content, consuming opinions, consuming advice, consuming entertainment, but never creating, never applying, never executing. People watch videos about success instead of building it. They read quotes about discipline instead of practicing it. They listen to podcasts about focus while scrolling endlessly. A young man once said, "I know so much about self-improvement," but his life showed no improvement at all. Knowledge without action becomes mental clutter, and clutter kills clarity. Another dangerous habit is avoiding discomfort. Success always lives on the other side of something uncomfortable. Hard conversations, early mornings, lonely discipline, unpopular decisions, delayed gratification. Avoiding discomfort feels like self-care, but it slowly weakens you. There was a woman who avoided confrontation her entire life. She said yes when she wanted to say no. She stayed silent when she needed to speak. Years later, she felt invisible, resentful, and exhausted. Her problem wasn't lack of confidence, it was the habit of avoidance. Every time you avoid discomfort, you teach your mind that comfort matters more than growth. Then comes comparison. Comparing timelines, comparing achievements, comparing lifestyles. Comparison creates pressure, insecurity, and impatience. A man started a business and quit after 6 months because someone else was already successful. He never saw the years of struggle behind that success. He only saw the highlight. Comparison steals focus, and focus is fuel. When you look sideways, you stop moving forward. Another habit that kills success is blaming. Blaming circumstances, blaming people, blaming the past. Blame feels relieving in the moment because it removes responsibility, but responsibility is power.
A man once said, "My childhood ruined me." Another said, "My childhood shaped me, but I decide who I become." Same pain, different outcome. Blame locks you in the past. Ownership frees you. Then there is the habit of inconsistency, starting strong, stopping early, repeating the cycle. Many people don't fail because they lack ability. They fail because they never stay long enough. They change goals, they change routines, they change plans. But success requires staying when boredom arrives. A writer once said, "The hardest part wasn't writing, it was showing up on days when I felt nothing." Consistency builds identity. Identity builds success. Another silent habit is neglecting your environment. Your environment shapes your behavior more than willpower ever will. Messy space, negative people, constant noise, digital distractions. A man struggled with focus for years. He blamed his mind. But when he cleaned his room, reduced screen time, and changed his circle, clarity returned. Your environment either supports your growth or sabotages it quietly. Then there is the habit of self-betrayal, making promises to yourself and breaking them. I'll start tomorrow. I'll wake up early. I'll be consistent this time. Every broken promise weakens self-trust, and without self-trust, confidence collapses. A woman once said, "I don't believe in myself anymore." Not because she failed big things, but because she failed small commitments repeatedly. Self-trust is built through small wins kept daily. Another habit that steals success is emotional reactivity, reacting instead of responding, letting moods control actions, letting anger decide words, letting fear decide choices. Emotionally reactive people are easy to control. Calm thinkers are powerful. A leader once said, "The moment I learned to pause before reacting, my life changed." Calm is not weakness, it is mastery. And finally, one of the most dangerous habits of all, thinking time is unlimited. People delay dreams because they believe there will always be later. Later becomes never. A man wanted to start a business someday. Years passed, health declined, energy faded, opportunity disappeared. Time is not waiting, and neither should you. These habits don't shout, they whisper. They don't destroy success overnight, they drain it slowly. But here is the powerful truth. Any habit can be broken, any pattern can be changed, any direction can be corrected. Awareness is the first step, and now you are aware.
Some habits don't look dangerous at first. They feel normal. They feel comfortable. They feel harmless. But over time, they quietly destroy momentum, confidence, discipline, and belief. One of the most common success-killing habits is waiting to feel ready. Many people delay action because they think confidence comes first. They say, "I'll start when I feel motivated. I'll begin when I feel confident. I'll act when the timing feels right." But the truth is brutal and simple. Confidence is not the cause of action. Action is the cause of confidence. There's a story of a man who wanted to start a small business. He spent years watching videos, reading books, and planning endlessly. Every day he told himself, "I'm preparing." But in reality, he was avoiding the fear of failure. One day, a friend of his started a similar business with far less knowledge, no perfect plan, no confidence, just action. Within a year, the friend failed multiple times, learned quickly, adjusted, and eventually succeeded. The first man? Still planning. Waiting to feel ready is not preparation, it is fear wearing a smart mask. Another habit that silently kills success is consuming more than creating. Modern life rewards consumption, scrolling, watching, listening, absorbing. People consume motivation videos, productivity tips, and success stories all day, but they never apply them. They mistake information for transformation. A young student once listened to motivational content every night.
He felt inspired, he felt hopeful, but his life never changed. Why? Because inspiration without action becomes emotional entertainment. Success requires creation, writing instead of scrolling, building instead of watching, practicing instead of consuming. If your life is full of input but empty of output, success will always feel close but never arrive. Another destructive habit is avoiding discomfort at all costs. The human brain is designed to seek comfort, but success is built in discomfort. People avoid difficult conversations, they avoid hard workouts, they avoid disciplined routines, they avoid saying no, they avoid taking responsibility, and every time they choose comfort, they train their mind to stay weak. There was a story of two colleagues at the same job. Both were talented, both had potential. One avoided extra responsibility. He left exactly on time, he did only what was required, he chose ease. The other volunteered for difficult tasks. He stayed late when necessary. He embraced pressure. After a few years, one was replaced. The other was promoted. Discomfort is not punishment. It is training. Another habit that steals success is talking more than doing. Some people are addicted to talking about their goals. They announce plans, they seek validation, they explain their dreams to everyone. But the mind mistakes talk for progress. Talking releases dopamine, the same chemical as achievement, so the brain feels rewarded before the work is done. There's an old saying, "Move in silence, let results make noise." The people who succeed quietly work when others talk loudly. Another hidden habit is blaming circumstances instead of adjusting behavior. Blame feels relieving, it protects ego, it gives temporary comfort. People blame their past, their family, their country, their boss, their luck. But blame kills growth. A man once lost his job and blamed the economy. Another man lost his job and learned new skills. Years later, one was still complaining, the other was thriving. Life is unfair, but responsibility is power. The moment you take full responsibility for your actions, choices, and habits, you regain control. Another success-killing habit is inconsistent effort. People work hard for a few days, then stop, then restart, then quit again. They rely on motivation instead of discipline. Motivation is temporary. Discipline is reliable. There was a woman who wanted to improve her health. She worked out intensely for 1 week, then stopped for 3. She repeated this cycle for years. Another woman exercised lightly but consistently every day. Guess who changed her life? Success is not built by intensity alone. It is built by consistency over time. Another dangerous habit is comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. Comparison creates discouragement. Discouragement kills action. People see success without seeing struggle. They see results without seeing years of effort. A young creator once quit after seeing others grow faster. He thought he was failing, but what he didn't see were the sleepless nights, rejections, and failures behind those successes. Comparison steals joy, focus, and patience. Your only competition is who you were yesterday. Another habit that quietly destroys success is poor environment. Your environment shapes your behavior more than your willpower. Negative people drain energy. Messy spaces create mental chaos. Constant noise kills clarity. A man trying to quit bad habits stayed around the same friends. He failed repeatedly. When he changed his environment, success followed naturally. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your environment. Another silent killer is avoiding rest and recovery. Burnout looks like productivity at first, then it turns into exhaustion, frustration, and loss of direction. Success requires rhythm, effort, and rest, focus, and recovery. A burned-out mind cannot think clearly. A tired soul cannot stay disciplined. Rest is not laziness, it is maintenance. Another habit that steals success is not reflecting on mistakes. Some people repeat the same mistakes for years because they never pause to learn. They fail, feel bad, distract themselves, and move on without insight. Failure without reflection becomes repetition. Failure with reflection becomes wisdom. The most successful people regularly ask themselves, what worked? What didn't? What can I improve? Growth requires awareness. Another deeply destructive habit is losing belief in yourself slowly. Self-doubt doesn't arrive loudly. It whispers, "You're not good enough. It's too late. Others are better. You always fail." If these thoughts go unchallenged, they become identity. A man once believed he was bad at learning, so he stopped trying. Years later, he realized he was never incapable, just discouraged early. Your mind believes what you repeat. Replace self-doubt with discipline. Replace fear with action. Replace excuses with effort. Success is not stolen overnight. It is stolen habit by habit. And the good news? Habits can be unlearned. Patterns can be changed. Discipline can be trained. Success can be rebuilt. As long as you are breathing, it is not too late to change the habits that shape your future.
People often believe success disappears because of bad luck, lack of talent, or external circumstances. But in reality, success is slowly stolen by habits that feel harmless, normal, and even comfortable. These habits don't announce themselves loudly. They work quietly, day after day, until one morning you look at your life and wonder where your potential went. One of the most dangerous habits that kills success is the habit of constant postponement. Not procrastination in the dramatic sense, but subtle delay. Saying, "I'll start tomorrow." Saying, "I'll do it when I feel ready." Saying, "Once things settle down, I'll focus." There was a story of a man who always dreamed of building his own business. He worked a regular job and told himself he was being responsible. Every evening, instead of learning, planning, or building, he scrolled through his phone to relax. He told himself rest was necessary. Years passed. His job stayed the same. His dream stayed a dream. The tragedy was not that he failed. It was that he never truly started. Delay became his lifestyle. Comfort replaced courage. Another habit that silently destroys success is emotional overreaction. Strong emotions feel powerful, but uncontrolled emotions make you weak. People who let anger control their words damage relationships. People who let fear control their decisions avoid opportunities. People who let sadness control their energy stop showing up. There was a woman who was talented, intelligent, and capable, but every time she received criticism, she took it personally. A small comment would ruin her entire day. A minor setback would make her question her worth. Slowly, she stopped trying new things, not because she wasn't capable, but because she was emotionally fragile. Success requires emotional strength, not emotional perfection. Another success-killing habit is seeking validation from others. When your confidence depends on approval, your direction becomes unstable. You change your goals to fit expectations. You silence your ideas to avoid judgment. You abandon your values to fit in. Think of the student who chose a career not because it excited him, but because people said it was respectable. Years later, he felt empty and unmotivated. His energy faded, not because he lacked ability, but because he was living someone else's definition of success. A powerful but ignored habit that steals success is consuming without creating. Endless scrolling, endless watching, endless listening, very little doing. Your mind becomes full, but your life remains unchanged. There is a difference between learning and hiding behind learning. Many people use content as a form of escape. They watch motivational videos instead of acting. They read books instead of applying. They plan endlessly instead of starting. Consumption feels productive, but without action, it becomes a trap. Another dangerous habit is negative self-talk disguised as realism. Saying, "I'm just being honest with myself," while constantly doubting your abilities. saying, "This is just who I am," while refusing to grow. Your mind listens to every word you say about yourself. A man once failed a business attempt early in his life. From that moment on, he introduced himself internally as someone who is not good at business. That single belief shaped decades of choices. He avoided risks, he avoided growth, he avoided opportunities. Not because he couldn't succeed, but because he believed he couldn't. One of the most overlooked habits that kills success is inconsistency. People overestimate motivation and underestimate discipline. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline builds lives. Doing something only when you feel like it leads to average results at best. Think of two people starting the same journey. One works when inspired, the other works even when tired, bored, or unsure. After a year, the difference between them is massive, not because of intelligence, but because of consistency. Another habit that steals success is blaming circumstances, blaming parents, blaming society, blaming the economy, blaming time. Blame gives temporary emotional relief, but it removes power. Responsibility is uncomfortable, but it gives control. There was a man who blamed his environment for his lack of progress. When he finally changed his habits instead of his excuses, his life changed faster than he imagined. The environment didn't change, he did. A subtle but destructive habit is avoiding discomfort. Growth is uncomfortable by nature. Discipline is uncomfortable. Learning is uncomfortable. Saying no is uncomfortable. Success demands that you tolerate discomfort longer than others. People who avoid discomfort choose short-term peace and long-term regret. People who face discomfort choose short-term struggle and long-term freedom. Another silent killer of success is lack of clarity, living without direction, waking up without purpose, moving without intention. When you don't know where you're going, distractions decide for you. Many people are busy but not productive. They fill their days with tasks that feel urgent but don't matter. Without clarity, effort gets wasted. And perhaps the most dangerous habit of all is believing you have time. Time feels unlimited until it isn't. People delay growth thinking life will always give another chance. The truth is, time rewards urgency. Every successful person reaches a moment when they realize this simple truth: nothing changes unless they change. No book, no mentor, no motivation can replace disciplined action. Success is not stolen overnight. It is leaked slowly through habits you tolerate, excuses you repeat, and comfort you protect. The moment you become aware of these habits, you gain power. Awareness is the first crack in the wall that limits your life. And as this audiobook continues, remember this quietly powerful idea. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your habits. If you change the habits that steal your success, success has no choice but to follow.
The most dangerous habits are not loud. They don't announce themselves. They don't feel destructive in the moment. They feel normal. They hide inside your daily routine, your thoughts, your excuses, and your comfort. And slowly, they steal your success without you realizing it. One of the most common habits that kills success is waiting to feel ready. People say, "I'll start when I feel confident. I'll take action when the timing is right. I'll work hard when I feel motivated." But readiness is an illusion. Confidence is built after action, not before it. Clarity comes during movement, not before it. Motivation follows progress, not the other way around. There are people with less talent than you, less intelligence than you, less opportunity than you, yet they move forward because they don't wait for permission from their emotions. They act while afraid. They act while confused. They act while imperfect. And that habit alone puts them years ahead. Another habit that quietly destroys success is romanticizing comfort. Comfort feels safe. Comfort feels peaceful. Comfort feels deserved.
You tell yourself, I've worked hard, I need rest. I'll do it tomorrow. Just one more episode, just one more scroll. But comfort, when repeated daily, becomes a cage. Real-life example. There was a man who dreamed of starting his own business. Every evening after work, he told himself he was too tired. He watched motivational videos, saved quotes, imagined success, but never touched discomfort. Years passed. The dream stayed the same. His life didn't. Comfort didn't ruin him overnight. It ruined him slowly, politely, without resistance. Success demands controlled discomfort, not burnout, not suffering, but deliberate effort even when you don't feel like it. Another habit that kills success is consuming more than creating. Modern life trains you to consume endlessly: videos, opinions, news, drama, content. Your mind becomes full, but your life stays empty. You know a lot, but you build very little. Knowledge without application becomes mental clutter. It gives the illusion of growth without the reality of progress. The most successful people consume with intention and create daily. They ask, how can I use this? What action does this require? What can I build today? If you don't create, you stay dependent. If you create, you gain power. Another silent killer of success is negative self-talk disguised as realism. You call it being realistic, but it's fear in disguise. I'm not good at this. People like me don't succeed. It's too late for me. I don't have the right background. Every time you repeat these thoughts, your brain accepts them as instructions. Your mind listens to your words more than you think. There was a woman who wanted to change her career in her 30s. Every day she told herself she was behind, too old, too late, not smart enough. She never applied, never tried, never failed. Not because she couldn't succeed, but because her inner voice never allowed her to begin. Your self-talk is not harmless. It programs your behavior. Strong people don't always think positive. They think useful. They replace "I can't" with "I'll figure it out." Another habit that steals success is avoiding responsibility, blaming the system, blaming family, blaming luck, blaming circumstances. Some of those things may be real, but blame keeps you powerless. The moment you say, "This is my responsibility," you regain control. Responsibility is not about guilt, it's about ownership. When you own your life, you can change it. When you avoid responsibility, you stay stuck waiting for rescue. Another deeply destructive habit is living without direction, waking up with no clear intention, letting the day decide for you, reacting instead of leading. You drift, and drifting feels easier than discipline. But drift has a cost. Years pass quietly. Opportunities fade silently. Regret grows slowly. Purpose doesn't require perfection, it requires direction. Even a small direction beats endless wandering. Another habit that kills success is seeking validation instead of mastery, chasing likes, approval, recognition. You begin shaping your actions based on how they look instead of how they grow you. Real success is built when no one is watching. The people who master skills quietly, who improve in silence, who work without applause, they shock the world later. Validation feels good, but it's temporary. Mastery feels hard, but it lasts. Another subtle habit is not protecting your energy, saying yes to everything, listening to everyone, arguing with people who don't matter, staying in environments that drain you. Your energy is limited. Every unnecessary conversation, distraction, or emotional battle steals from your future. Strong people are selective, not rude, not cold, just intentional. They know that focus is fragile. And finally, one of the most dangerous habits of all, giving up internally while still showing up physically. You go to work, you attend classes,
You follow routines, but inside you've already quit. You stopped believing, stopped dreaming, stopped trying. This is the most tragic habit because it looks like effort from the outside, but it's surrender on the inside. And success can never grow in a mind that has already decided to lose. The moment you recommit internally, even quietly, even imperfectly, life begins to respond differently.
Success rarely disappears overnight. It is slowly stolen, quietly, by habits that look harmless on the surface. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because their daily habits silently work against them. This part goes deeper into habits that feel normal, even comfortable, but quietly destroy progress. Some habits don't look like enemies. They look like rest. They look like freedom. They look like just for now. But over time, they become cages. One of the most dangerous habits is living on emotional impulse. People wake up and let emotions decide everything. If they feel motivated, they work. If they feel tired, they quit. If they feel inspired, they plan. If they feel bored, they scroll. Success never belonged to emotions. It belongs to discipline. There is a story of a man who dreamed of becoming a writer. Every day he waited to feel inspired. Weeks passed, months passed, years passed. He blamed lack of creativity, but the real problem was this habit. He allowed his emotions to control his actions. Successful people reverse this. They act first. Motivation follows later. When you train yourself to act even when you don't feel like it, you remove one of the biggest thieves of success. Another silent habit that kills success is over-explaining yourself. People who constantly explain their decisions to others lose confidence over time. They begin to doubt their own choices. There was a young woman who wanted to change her career. Every time she mentioned it, people questioned her. Are you sure? What if it doesn't work? Why leave something stable? She explained, she defended, she justified. Slowly, her belief weakened, not because her idea was wrong, but because she allowed external voices to live rent-free in her mind. Strong people don't explain their vision to those who don't understand it. They move quietly. They let results speak. Over-explaining is a habit rooted in fear. Fear of rejection, fear of being misunderstood. Success requires the courage to be misunderstood for a while. Another success-killing habit is romanticizing struggle instead of fixing it. Some people talk more about their struggles than solving them. They wear hardship like an identity. They say things like, "My life is hard. Nobody understands me. I'm always unlucky." They repeat the story so often that it becomes who they are. There was a man who constantly talked about how difficult his job was. Every conversation turned into a complaint, but he never updated his skills, never searched for alternatives, never changed habits. The habit wasn't struggle. The habit was staying comfortable in struggle. Struggle is meant to be a phase, not a personality. The moment you start fixing instead of narrating your pain, your life changes direction. Another silent habit that kills success is constant consumption without creation. People read endlessly, watch motivational videos endlessly, listen endlessly, but they don't apply. They know everything, but do nothing. Knowledge without action creates illusion of growth. It feels like progress, but nothing changes. There was a student who watched hours of productivity content daily. He could explain discipline perfectly, but his life stayed the same. Because success isn't built by what you consume, it's built by what you practice. One small action daily beats endless information. Another dangerous habit is delaying discomfort. People say, "I'll start when things settle. I'll fix this later. I'll work on myself after this phase." But life never settles. There was a man who kept postponing his health. Work first, family first, money first. Years later, health forced him to stop everything.
Delayed discomfort always returns with interest. Successful people choose small discomfort today to avoid massive pain tomorrow. Another habit that kills success is measuring your life using other people's timelines. Someone gets married early, someone succeeds early, someone earns early. Comparison slowly poisons your confidence. There was a man who felt behind because his friends were ahead. He rushed decisions, chose the wrong path, burned out. Later he realized he wasn't late, he was just on a different road. Success has no fixed schedule, only consistency matters. Another silent habit is not protecting your mental environment. Your mind absorbs what surrounds it: negative people, constant criticism, chaotic information, endless noise. Over time, your thoughts stop being your own. There was a woman who always felt anxious and unfocused. She thought something was wrong with her, but the problem was her environment. Constant negativity, no silence, no boundaries. When she changed her environment, her mind changed naturally. Success requires mental hygiene, just like physical hygiene. Another deeply damaging habit is confusing busyness with progress. Being busy feels productive, but busy without direction leads nowhere. Some people fill their day with tasks, but avoid the one task that truly matters. They stay busy to avoid fear: fear of failing, fear of starting, fear of facing reality. Real progress is often quiet, simple, focused. One of the most underestimated habits that kills success is not keeping promises to yourself. Every time you say, "I'll do it tomorrow," and don't, your self-trust weakens. Over time, your mind stops believing you. Successful people rebuild trust with themselves by doing small things consistently. Not big promises, small kept promises. And then there is the habit of giving up too early. Most people quit right before things start working. There was a man who trained for years without recognition, no applause, no validation. He wanted to quit daily. But one day, opportunity met preparation. The world saw success overnight. They didn't see the years of patience. Success doesn't announce when it's close. Quitting early is the most expensive habit of all.
It fades quietly, slowly, through habits so small they feel harmless. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because of what they repeatedly allow. Let's go deeper. Some habits don't look dangerous at first. They don't scream destruction. They whisper comfort, and that is what makes them deadly. One of the most silent killers of success is living in reaction mode. You wake up and immediately react to notifications, to messages, to other people's priorities, to random demands. Your day doesn't belong to you. It belongs to whoever reaches you first. There was a young man with big dreams. He wanted to build something meaningful. Every morning he told himself, "Today I'll focus." But every morning started the same way: phone in hand, scrolling, replying, consuming. By night he was exhausted, not from progress, from noise. Months passed, nothing changed, not because he was lazy, but because his mind was always responding, never directing. Success requires creation. Reaction creates survival, not growth. Another habit that steals success is confusing movement with progress. You can be busy and still be stuck. You can work all day and move nowhere. Some people fill their days with activity to avoid facing the truth, that they are afraid of doing the one thing that actually matters. There was a woman who worked endlessly: meetings, emails, tasks, always busy, but she avoided the one conversation she needed to have, the one decision that scared her, the one risk that could change everything. Years passed. She stayed productive, but never fulfilled. Success doesn't reward movement, it rewards alignment. Comfort seeking is another quiet thief.
The mind loves what feels safe. Familiar pain feels safer than unfamiliar growth. People stay in jobs they hate, relationships that drain them, routines that suffocate them, not because they want to suffer, but because discomfort feels dangerous. There was a man who dreamed of changing his life. He talked about it endlessly, but every time action required discomfort, he delayed. I'll start when I feel ready. I'll change when things calm down. They never did. Comfort does not prepare you for success. It prepares you to stay the same. Another habit that destroys success is emotional impulsiveness. Reacting instead of responding, speaking instead of thinking, acting instead of observing. One emotional decision can undo years of effort. A single angry message, a rushed choice, an ego-driven reaction. Strong people pause. Weak habits rush. There was a talented individual who kept sabotaging opportunities, not because he lacked skill, but because he couldn't regulate emotion. When praised, ego rose. When criticized, anger exploded. When challenged, he withdrew. Talent opened doors. Habits slammed them shut. Success requires emotional maturity more than intelligence. Self-betrayal is another habit people rarely talk about. Every time you promise yourself something and don't follow through, your self-trust weakens. I'll wake up early. I'll start today. I'll stop wasting time. And then you don't. Over time, your mind stops believing you. You don't feel confident because you don't trust yourself. There was a time when someone had incredible potential, but they constantly negotiated with their own discipline. Just this once, just today, just a little more comfort. Years later, they wondered why motivation disappeared. Motivation dies when self-trust dies. Comparing your journey to others is another invisible trap. You don't see their struggles. You don't see their sacrifices. You see results without context. Comparison creates either arrogance or insecurity. Both are harmful. Someone quits early because others seem ahead. Another becomes careless because they think they're already better. Success grows in focus, not comparison. Your path requires your attention, not someone else's highlights. Waiting for clarity before action is another invisible trap. Clarity comes after movement, not before. Many people wait for confidence, for certainty, for motivation, but those are rewards of action, not prerequisites. There was a time when someone stood at the edge of change. They waited to feel ready. They waited years. Readiness never arrived. Action is what creates readiness. Avoiding solitude is another hidden problem. Silence scares people because it exposes truth, so they fill every moment with sound, music, videos, conversations. But growth requires reflection. The people who succeed learn to sit with their thoughts, to listen, to observe patterns, to correct direction. Noise numbs awareness. Awareness creates growth. Let's go deeper. One of the most dangerous habits is outsourcing responsibility, blaming circumstances, blaming timing, blaming people. Every excuse gives away power. There was someone who believed the world was against them, and because they believed it, they stopped trying. Responsibility doesn't mean self-blame, it means self-ownership. The moment you own your situation, you regain control. Another silent killer is inconsistency. Not failure, not mistakes, inconsistency. Doing the right thing occasionally doesn't change life. Doing it daily does. People want massive results from minimal consistency. Success compounds, but only when habits repeat. Small actions, done relentlessly, outperform talent without discipline.
Some habits don't look dangerous. They don't scream failure. They don't feel destructive. They feel normal. And that's exactly why they are deadly. One of the most silent success killers is getting used to comfort. Not luxury, not pleasure,
just comfort. The comfort of waking up late and telling yourself you deserve rest. The comfort of delaying difficult tasks until tomorrow. The comfort of doing what feels easy instead of what builds you. Comfort slowly rewires the brain to avoid growth. There's a story of a young man who had talent, intelligence, and opportunity. Everyone around him said he had potential, and he believed it, but potential became his trap, because whenever he failed, he told himself, "I could do better if I tried." He never fully tried. Years passed. The world moved on. Others who were less talented but more disciplined surpassed him. And one day he realized something painful. Potential unused turns into regret. Comfort doesn't ruin success in one day. It erodes it quietly. Another habit that steals success is living in reaction mode. Most people don't live intentionally. They react. They react to messages. They react to moods. They react to problems. They react to other people's expectations. Their day is not planned, it's interrupted. There was a woman who always felt busy but never fulfilled. Her days were packed. Her mind was exhausted. But when she looked closely, she realized she wasn't building anything. She was just responding. Responding to work emails, responding to family demands, responding to emergencies that weren't emergencies. She was surviving, not progressing. Success requires creation, not constant reaction. If you don't decide how your day flows, someone else will decide it for you. Another dangerous habit is self-betrayal. This happens when you keep promises to others but break promises to yourself. You say you'll wake up early. You don't. You say you'll start today. You delay. You say you'll change. You repeat the same cycle. Every time you do this, something breaks inside. Not motivation, not discipline. Trust. You stop trusting yourself. And when you don't trust yourself, your mind stops taking your goals seriously. There was a man who kept setting goals every year, new plans, new motivation, new excitement. But deep down, his mind had already learned the truth. Don't believe him. He never follows through. So even when opportunities came, his confidence was weak. Success doesn't come from big promises. It comes from small agreements kept daily. Another habit that quietly destroys success is overconsumption. Too much content, too much advice, too much information. People watch videos about discipline instead of being disciplined. They read books about success instead of building success. Knowledge without action creates illusion. You feel productive, you feel informed, but nothing changes. There was a student who knew every self-help concept. He could explain habits, mindset, focus, productivity, but his life didn't reflect any of it because consumption had replaced execution. Success favors doers, not collectors of ideas. Another success killer is emotional decision-making, making decisions when angry, when insecure, when lonely, when afraid. Emotions are temporary. Decisions are permanent. A man once quit his job during a bad week, not because it was the right move, but because he was overwhelmed. Months later, he realized the problem wasn't the job, it was burnout and lack of boundaries. One emotional decision cost him stability and time. Strong people feel emotions, but don't let emotions decide their future. There is also the habit of waiting to feel ready, waiting for confidence, waiting for clarity, waiting for the right time. Readiness is not a feeling, it's a result of action. Nobody feels ready before growth. Growth creates readiness. There's a saying, you don't become confident, then act. You act, then confidence follows. Waiting keeps you stuck. Movement sets you free. Another habit that steals success is negative self-talk disguised as realism. I'm just being honest. This is who I am. I know my limits. No, those are mental cages.
The way you talk to yourself becomes your identity. A person who constantly says, "I'm bad at this," will never improve at it, because the mind obeys the story you repeat. Your thoughts shape your actions shape your habits shape your life. Another destructive habit is avoiding solitude, always needing noise, music, scrolling, videos, people. Silence reveals truth, and truth can be uncomfortable. But growth happens in silence. The most successful thinkers spend time alone, not because they are lonely, but because clarity requires quiet. If you never sit with yourself, you never understand yourself. Another silent killer is staying around people who normalize mediocrity, people who mock ambition, people who discourage effort, people who fear growth and project that fear on you. Energy is contagious. If everyone around you settles, settling becomes normal. Success often requires distance, not arrogance, but alignment. And perhaps the most dangerous habit of all is giving up too early. Not dramatic quitting, quiet quitting, lowering standards, reducing effort, accepting less. There are people who were very close to breakthrough, but they stopped just before momentum arrived. Success often shows up after endurance, not excitement.
The most dangerous habits are not loud. They don't announce themselves. They blend into your daily routine so quietly that you mistake them for personality traits. One of these habits is waiting for motivation. Many people believe success comes after motivation arrives. They wait to feel ready. They wait to feel confident. They wait to feel inspired. But motivation is not a starting point. It is a result. People who succeed do not wake up feeling motivated every day. They wake up feeling responsible. They act first, and motivation follows action. A young man once dreamed of becoming a writer. He waited years for inspiration. He read quotes, watched videos, imagined success, but he never wrote. One day, he forced himself to write, even when he felt empty. No passion, no confidence, just discipline. Weeks passed, then months. His writing improved. His confidence grew. Motivation appeared, not before action, but after it. Waiting for motivation had been silently killing his success. Another habit that steals success is confusing comfort with happiness. Comfort feels good in the moment, but comfort slowly weakens you. Sleeping late, avoiding difficult conversations, choosing entertainment over effort, choosing ease over growth. Comfort never asks you to grow, it asks you to stay the same. There was a woman who stayed in the same job for years. She hated it, but it was comfortable. She knew the routine, she knew the people, she knew the paycheck. Every year she said, "Next year I'll change." Next year never came. Comfort didn't ruin her life overnight. It slowly drained her potential until her dreams felt unrealistic. Success requires discomfort, not chaos, not burnout, but chosen discomfort. Growth lives there. Another habit that kills success is reacting emotionally instead of responding consciously. Most people let their emotions drive their actions. They speak when angry, they quit when frustrated, they escape when afraid. Emotion-driven decisions create short-term relief and long-term regret. A man once lost a great opportunity because of his ego. A small criticism triggered him. Instead of listening, he reacted. Instead of learning, he defended himself. The opportunity disappeared, not because he wasn't capable, but because he couldn't control his emotions. Strong people feel emotions deeply, but they don't obey them blindly. They pause, they breathe, they choose their response. That pause, that small moment of self-control, is the difference between success and sabotage. Another silent killer is consuming more than you create. Endless scrolling, endless watching, endless listening. Information feels productive, but without action, it becomes mental junk.
There are people who know everything about success but have nothing to show for it. They watch videos about discipline but never practice it. They read books about focus but never remove distractions. They consume wisdom but never apply it. Creation builds confidence. Consumption without action builds anxiety. Even one small act of creation each day is more powerful than hours of passive consumption. Another habit that steals success is avoiding responsibility, blaming circumstances, blaming people, blaming luck, blaming timing. Responsibility feels heavy, but it gives power. A man once blamed his background for his failures, his family, his city, his education. One day he asked a different question. What part of this is my responsibility? That question changed everything. He couldn't change his past, but he could change his habits, his effort, his mindset. The moment he took responsibility, he regained control. Victim thinking feels safe. Responsibility feels uncomfortable, but only responsibility leads to success. Another deeply destructive habit is inconsistency disguised as flexibility. Starting strong, stopping early, restarting again. Many people say they're being flexible. In reality, they're being inconsistent. They train for a week, then stop. They focus for a day, then drift. They commit emotionally, then disappear. Success doesn't require perfection. It requires consistency. Small actions repeated daily will always outperform intense actions done occasionally. A student once struggled academically, not because he lacked intelligence, but because he studied only when exams were near. When he started studying a little every day, his performance transformed. Consistency built momentum. Momentum built confidence. Confidence built success. Another habit that steals success is seeking validation instead of mastery. Chasing likes, chasing approval, chasing praise. When validation becomes the goal, growth stops. There was an artist who constantly posted his work online. Every reaction affected him. If people praised him, he felt motivated. If they didn't, he felt discouraged. His growth depended on external feedback. The day he stopped posting and focused on mastery, his skills exploded. Validation is noisy. Mastery is quiet. Successful people focus on becoming better, not being noticed. Another habit that steals success is thinking too far ahead and not acting today. Over-planning, overthinking, imagining every possible outcome. The future becomes so heavy that the present feels useless. But success is built today, in the small decisions, in the boring work, in the unseen effort. Thinking about the destination won't move you. Taking the next step will. And perhaps the most dangerous habit of all is giving up mentally before giving up physically. Most people quit in their mind long before they quit in reality. They stop believing, they stop expecting, they stop imagining success. The body follows the mind. A man once trained for years with no results. He wanted to quit. Every day felt pointless, but he decided on one thing: I won't quit today. That decision, repeated daily, eventually changed everything. Success didn't arrive suddenly, but failure was avoided consistently. You don't need extreme motivation. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need talent beyond reach. You need awareness of the habits that quietly steal your success, and the courage to remove them one by one.